Hello and welcome back to the channel, but just in case you're new here, my name is Mike, and in this video I will be continuing collaboration mayhem. Now, I am going to be collabing with one of my good friends, James from Wanna Play, link in the description down below if you're unaware of his channel, but him and I are going to be ranking the entire Child's Play Chucky franchise, including the remake and the TV series. Season 1, that is. So, without further ado, let's slice right into it. The unthinkable has happened. The forbidden door has been opened. Not even the Mayans predicted it. But it happened. I watched the Child's Play 2019 reboot. I did. I watched it. I'm not going to lie, I watched it. A good friend of mine had convinced me to watch it. He was asking me that... man, who am I fucking kidding? He guilted me into watching this movie. Legitimately guilted me. He grabbed me by my neck and he said, I'll kill you, you motherfucker. But seriously, he did guilt me into watching the movie. So shout out to you, YB, for making me watch this movie. It is number 9 on my list. But, I will say this. This movie had no business being a Child's Play movie. You need to change the look of the doll, take away all the character names, redo it, package this movie as its own thing. Take all that out of it, and it could have been such a better movie. Because, I have to admit, there was a lot of good things to be had in this movie. On this list, I just don't support that film in any way, shape, or form. I never have. I've never seen it. I never will see it. I won't talk about it. Dude, look, let me just... James, what's your number 9?
What's up, everybody? It's me on this channel again. I feel like I'm on this channel every other upload at this point. I'm kidding. But yeah, as Mike said, you all know me. It's James from Wanna Play, and we're here to rank the Child's Play franchise. So coming in last place for me is going to be the Child's Play remake. Now, this is a movie that does have moments in it. I think that a lot of the kills are really cool, and if you were going to replace Brad Dourif with a new voice actor, I mean, Luke Skywalker himself, it's not the worst option. But the thing is that just this movie existing as a whole goes against what everybody involved with the original series wanted. Don Mancini, Jennifer Tilly, all of the other actors were actively against this movie being made, but they still did it anyways just to make a profit. It's just so odd that they would remake Child's Play in the middle of the series. Like, there was Cult of Chucky and then the TV series being a direct continuation of Cult, and then in the middle there's just the weird remake. Even just the movie itself is still not great. The doll is horrible, and the characters pale in comparison to their original counterparts. So altogether, this movie, it's not for me, and the remake is going to come in last place.
But at number 8, and let me make this clear, it is very much high above the reboot remake. That, again. Either way, though, number 8 for me is going to be Child's Play 3. I love Child's Play 3. I think it's a great movie. Every Child's Play and Chucky movie, aside from the reboot, means a lot to me. It's something I hold near and dear in my heart. It's one of my top 5 favorite franchises of all time, one of my favorite characters. I think Child's Play 3 is a good movie. Always have, always will. It has some of the best Chucky one-liners in it. Andy being more of a teenager, I thought was a really cool turn, and a really cool kind of verge off of the first two when he was just a kid. I thought it was a really cool way to go, and I thought the actor did a good job. Sylvia's a lot of fun. The whole carnival finale is pretty cool. How Chucky goes out is cool. Ultimately, why it's so low on my list, though, is Child's Play 3 suffers heavily from a rushed production and it being so similar to the first two movies that it feels like such a retread of the first two, and ultimately that's kind of what stalls it. Tyler's age and him being into dolls is a little bit weird. I have a 7-year-old and she's starting to kind of wean out of dolls, so I don't know how all that works. It suffers a lot. It's still a great movie, but ultimately it's number 8.
At number 8, we've got Seed of Chucky. Now, I debated putting this higher, I'll be honest, because of how many people have started to come around to this movie and how many people have started to come around to the character of Glenn and Glenda. But for me, it's just still, despite all that, it's still not great. Now, I do think that the character of Glenn and Glenda could definitely work if they pulled it off right. Like, for example, if in season 2 of the Chucky show, if Glenn and Glenda comes back, I feel like they could pull that character off. But for this movie, yes, I get it. The character itself is very ahead of its time. It's a very progressive character that means a lot to a lot of people, but it just could have been pulled off so much better in a much better movie. This movie's humor just does not work. It's just so odd, just so many weird moments. There's a weird Britney Spears cameo in here for some reason, where Chucky kills Britney Spears, and there's just the whole subplot of trying to impregnate Jennifer Tilly against her will, and then having Tiffany go into Jennifer Tilly's body, and then at the end it's weird because Tiffany the doll and Tiffany and Jennifer Tilly are somehow both kind of still alive, and the movie is, I get how people like this, I get how this means a lot to a lot of people, but just taking the movie on its own merits, it's just so weird. It's really, in my opinion, the only stinker in the original stretch of movies. And yeah, for me, unfortunately, it's going to have to come in at number 8.
Finding its way at number 7 for me is going to be a film that's probably number 9 for everybody else watching this, and that is Seed of Chucky. Now, Seed of Chucky is this high on the list simply because it's a guilty pleasure movie for me. I love Seed of Chucky. I really do enjoy the movie. I was on board with the wacky, crazy zaniness of it. There's a lot to like there for me personally. I think the look and design of Chucky is one of the best in the whole franchise. And it also introduced us to Glenn Glenda, a character that I love and I adore. And if y'all know the channel, you know me personally, you know my love for Glenn and Glenda. So I got on board with the wacky zaniness of Chucky, and it really highlighted that Chucky can really be plugged into so many different things. Him as a character, he's so versatile. There's Freddy, Jason, Leprechaun, Michael Myers. None of them could have been in a movie like this and made it work the way it did, except Chucky. He's a versatile character, and I love him for that. I can see why people don't like this movie. I totally understand it, totally respect it. But it's a movie that I do appreciate for what it is. And I will always be a defender of Seed of Chucky because I do love it. It is special to me. Of course, I am not blind to the negatives of the movie. My biggest problem with the movie, believe it or not, is not even the movie itself. It comes more so from the promotion of it. I was an avid horror fan, an avid Chucky fan when this movie was coming out. And all the commercials and the trailer and all the promotion for it was deliver us some evil. You know what I mean? And the second coming of killing and all this stuff. And all the teasers and stuff would show this demonic killer baby. And I'm like, oh, dude, Chucky's kid is going to be a fucking maniac. Well, you see the movie, he's not really so much. He's kind of split, which is another thing I love about the character. The split personality and all that stuff. Love all that. I will defend Seed of Chucky. Maybe not to the hilt, but I will defend it because I do love the movie for what it was worth. And I appreciate Don doing something different.
At number 7 is going to be the Chucky TV series. Now, I had such high hopes for this series, and as the series went on, my love for it just diminished more and more and more and more until the final episode was just one of the worst episodes of television that I have ever seen. My God. It is cool at first, which is why it's not dead last. There are some great moments. I mean, it's a TV show with 8 episodes. Of course, it can't all be bad. Andy and Kyle, like when they first show up and they're posing as like the census people. I'm not exactly sure what they were, or I can't remember from the top of my head right now. But them just being together, and then when they shot the Chucky doll, that was awesome. There's some really good kills in here, but just so much oddness in the final episode, and just so many nitpicks that I have throughout. Of course, what they did to Junior's mom is just distasteful. It's unforgivable. It's just uncomfortable, that whole bit of the show. And of course, the ending, when they take off the limbs of the best character in the series besides Chucky himself. Absolutely abysmal choice right there. Unforgivable what they did in that final episode. Just so much of it built up and built up and built up and just led to absolutely nothing. There was so much like stop-start storytelling, and just nothing was resolved. There wasn't a big cliffhanger. Me and a whole bunch of other people in the Chucky community and the horror community were coming up with all these crazy theories of stuff like, oh my god, what's going to happen in this final episode? In this army of Chuckies, what are they going to get up to? And just, the answer, nothing. Nothing but awful choices and stupidity with that final episode. If that final episode was better, this show would be much, much higher on the list. But just that final episode, man, tanked the series in such a negative way to where now I got no choice but to put it this low.
But at number 6 for me, one step above Seed of Chucky, is going to be Bride of Chucky. Bride of Chucky was a movie that really blows me away because when it first came out, I don't remember the huge clamoring of fans, at least the ones that I talked to, that really were on board with this movie and loved it. I did. I liked it. It's one of the more it's one of the most rewatched movies for me personally in the franchise. I've seen Bride of Chucky so many times, and I love it. I think it was a great veer from the rest of the franchises because this came before Seed. This was the first time Chucky really branched off into this comedy role, but it fit like a glove. But the nice thing about Bride is it holds the horror and tension and spookiness that the other ones had. It just adds horror. Where Seed of Chucky pulled almost out of the horror and shit out of it, the tone, the creepiness, that was all pulled from Seed. Bride kept it there, and you had this perfect balance of horror, comedy, almost like a dark horror romantic comedy. And it's a really good movie, and it really stands the test of time. All these years later, of course, we have the God bless the John Ritter is in this movie. So all that, you take all that in account, it's a really good movie, and of course you got the beginning scene, the Easter eggs of the chainsaw and the Michael Myers mask and all that stuff, that really cool first opening scene, Tiffany's first throat slash, which has become like a staple now for her character. You got to see that great scene, and it introduced us to Tiffany Valentine, one of my personal favorite characters in the whole franchise. So Bride of Chucky, 2 thumbs up for me.
All right, how is the best way to explain this pick? I'll just say that there's a noticeably large gap between my last pick and this pick. My last pick, not so great. But this pick, and from here on up, these are some of my favorite horror movies of all time. Do not get me wrong, I don't hate this movie, I don't dislike this movie, but just hear me out. Next up is it's Child's Play 2, okay? Now, don't click off the video. I know this is most people's favorite in the series, but there's just a lot of it that doesn't really matter, if that makes any sense. Of course, there are some awesome kills in here. Mrs. Kettlewell's kill with the ruler, and the lady who runs the adoption center, I think it was, who gets, like, stabbed and then her face printed out on the copy machine. That was awesome. There were some really awesome kills in this, but just compared to the rest of the series, it's really not the best. I feel like Alex Vincent isn't as memorable. His character of Andy isn't as memorable or as good as in the original or some of the later sequels where he came back. and stuff like the opening bit where they're like kind of rebuilding the killer Chucky doll and then they get like electrocuted somehow. Just some stuff like that, it just doesn't really compare to the rest of the series, although there is that amazing stretch in the end. I mean, the stretch in the end where they're running through the factory is still, to this day, probably the best finale in any Chucky movie ever. I mean, it's just so awesome. It's the perfect setting to end one of these movies. Andy and Kyle running around, Kyle being introduced here as one of the best characters in the series, and a fan favorite final girl in any horror movie ever. Child's Play 2 is awesome, but really, other than the stuff that I mentioned, a lot of it doesn't really matter. Like, Andy's foster parents, like, they don't really matter. They just get killed off. There's just a lot of stuff that, yeah, it's almost like the TV show to where it kind of doesn't really go anywhere. And Chucky himself, although he is awesome, I feel like the Chucky that we get in this isn't as good as some of the other Chuckies above this. His lines aren't as memorable. And yeah, the movie is awesome. Don't get me wrong, this is still one of the best horror sequels of all time. But just in comparison to the rest of the series, in my opinion, it's going to come down this low.
But at number 5 might shock some people, because this movie is very, very loved among the community and among the fan base. And trust me, it is for me too. Like I said, the Chucky movies hold a special place in my heart and always will. Number 5 for me is Curse of Chucky. Now, I understand this was a return to form. Don Mancini coming back to Chucky's horror roots, embracing the darkness again. And I think he did a really good job with it. I really love this movie. We got introduced to Nika, who is one of my favorite characters in the whole franchise. She's an absolute badass. I adore her as an actress. She kills it. Kills it. I'm telling you, she kills it. In everything she's in, not just the Chucky franchise, but my biggest problems with Curse of Chucky were some of the lackluster characters. A lot of the kills I felt were kind of weak. And there's some other like little things, like when Chucky gets decapitated and then like the stuffing flies out. It just kind of flies in the face of what we already know about Chucky and the mythology and stuff about that the doll bleeds. So, I don't know. I didn't really care for that too much. And Chucky did look pretty unsettling for most of the film. Obviously, they peel off the plastic or the makeup to reveal the scars, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. It was a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I just had to put it somewhere, and it landed at number 5.
At number 5, we've got Bride of Chucky. Now, this one was higher on my list before, but upon rewatch, you start to realize how much of this also didn't really end up going anywhere in the rest of the series. Like, the characters of Jesse and Jade, for example, they're not the best characters in the series, and it kind of shows because they never show up in the sequels, and as far as I can remember, they were never even referenced or mentioned in any of the sequels. They're just that, I guess, forgettable of characters, and it goes to show you, I guess, how much the creators didn't really care about the main characters of this. This is still a great movie, though. I mean, it's Jennifer Tilly's introduction. It's got one of the coolest opening credits sequence, one of the coolest character intros for her ever. When she first shows up and kills the cop, that's amazing. And of course, you get the redesigned Chucky look. His most iconic look in the entire series, the scarred Chucky. It's awesome. There's also a lot of really cool meta references to other horror films. You got stuff like Pinhead, Halloween, Friday the 13th, all referenced in this movie. And yeah, it's very, very, very good. It really is. It's one of the fan favorites, and it's just so much fun watching Chucky going around pretty much on a road trip the whole time, scoring as many kills as he can, going around, running around with Tiffany, and just some of the most awesome, hilarious, and amazing lines by Chucky. If you want to watch a movie where Chucky is just Chucky the whole time, cracking jokes, having fun, killing a whole bunch of people, Bride of Chucky is the way to go. Bride of Chucky is awesome. It's a great breath of fresh air for the series because 1 and 2 and 3 were a neat trilogy, but a 4th film starring Andy Barclay immediately after maybe wouldn't have been the right way to go. And I feel like this is just one of the best revamps that a series has ever had. It's the one where they took a risk and the risk paid off. And it's so rare that a series does that. I mean, the other risks that series have took is Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. You know, Michael Myers joins a cult, and then Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell, where Jason's like a slug infesting people. Those generally turn out to be some of the most hated movies in the series, but Bride of Chucky, still to this day, is so many people's favorite movie in the entire series, or at least high up on everybody's list. This movie is fantastic. It is so good, so different, and it's just one of the best in the series, in my opinion, and it comes in at number 5.
But now it's time for James and I to crack the top 4. Fourth for me is going to be, believe it or not, the Child's Play TV series known as Chucky. I love this TV series. I feel that I enjoyed it a lot more than other people, and simply for the fact that I really attached to the characters, the Devons, the Lexis, the Jakes. I really found myself really attaching to the new characters, and I want to see what's next for them, and I'm really excited. Miss Fairchild, every character, I thought the writing was done really well for most of the show. Just seeing Chucky in television format was so cool. I think he transferred to television so much better than anybody thought this character or this franchise was going to be able to pull off. And he pulled it off, Donna, that is, and the whole cast and everyone involved wonderfully. I can say endless compliments about this series, Andy and Kyle being back together again on screen. I had goosebumps when they were together again. I love seeing them together on screen. It just makes me happy. It brings me back to being that kid, watching Child's Play 2 on the couch with my mom, grabbing the VHS off of a Blockbuster shelf. It just brings me back to see them together again, and they're so badass in it, and there was so much fun Easter eggs to be had, and great new story and great new lore. Now, the reason it's at 4, though, is the television series had a lot of flaws, in my opinion. A lot of start and stop storylines. The finale really fell flat for me. No Glenn and Glenda. That just hurt my heart. That hurt my heart. But if you want to know more about my thoughts or James's thoughts on the Chucky TV series, we have a live stream here on the channel talking all about it for a few hours. So you can definitely get your fill there. But I do love this TV series more than most. And I cannot wait for season 2. It's number 4.
At number 4, and I guess you can thank the Child's Play TV series for this movie being placed this high, that's going to be Curse of Chucky. That's right. Usually on my channel, I've ranked this series twice now. And Curse of Chucky is usually in the bottom half, but what made me put this up that much higher is really the final episode in the Chucky TV series made me realize how much of a fan I was of Nika, and this is by far Nika's best movie. She absolutely steals the show. Like, oh my god, she shattered everybody's expectations. When this movie was coming out, people obviously were optimistic because it was the first Chucky movie in like 9 or 10 years, but some people were like, I don't know, are they just casting her because she's Brad Dourif's daughter, and just really that's the only reason? Can she actually act? And she blew everybody away. She is fantastic. Oh my god, she is so awesome. She kicks ass this whole movie. Just her character is so good. Going around, she's in the wheelchair, so really she has a disadvantage and an advantage at the same time. She's a very unique character, a very unique final girl. And other than that, my god, there are some of the greatest kills in the series. The gore is great. I'm glad that they brought the gore back in just an extra heavy way from some of the previous ones that weren't all that bloody or explicit. Like, you get a kill where somebody gets stabbed right through the eye and it's close up and it's just gross, and I appreciate the hell out of Don Mancini's directing here. His directing has improved so much since Seed of Chucky. This is still probably his best directed movie, and just I'm so glad that they managed to take this movie back to the roots of Child's Play and make this maybe the creepiest movie in the entire series. It's absolutely up there with that original film, and just its tone and creepiness and the doll, and This movie is awesome. I never knew how much I loved it. I never knew how much I loved the character of Nika until that ending, and just what they did to her character is just so bad. But at least we've got Nika, we've got Fiona Dorff in this movie. Now, there's some weird stuff going on with the flashbacks, like the plot hole, like, where was Eddie Caputo when Charles Lee Ray was going into that toy store? That's a little bit of a plot hole there, but still, just besides that, this movie is so good. One of the creepiest, if not the creepiest movie in the entire franchise. And for me, it comes in at number 4.
Number 3, for me, is going to be Cult of Chucky. Now, this movie is really strange to me because a lot of the fans seem to love it or they seem to hate it. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of middle ground with Cult of Chucky. It's kind of very much one way or the other with fans, but I am among the love category. I love the whole idea of the Cult of Chucky, the multiple dolls. It was such a cool concept and a great way to breathe new life into the franchise. They brought Nika back, and her performance was even better in the second movie than in Curse. Just absolutely phenomenal. The kills were top-notch. The power drill kill, the oxygen tank kill, which if you know what I do for a living, that's pretty cool to me. That's why I have Chucky with the oxygen tank, because I work in oxygen respiratory for a living. That's what I do. So that kind of tickles me, and I just love this movie all around. Dr. Foley being a piece of shit, watching him die in one of my favorite kills in all of horror. I love this movie so much, and one thing that I really loved about it too was Andy Alex Vincent being back. Now we know he was back for the cameo at the end of Curse, but seeing him back and he's acting and he's trying to get his life together by, going out with his girls, how the movie opens. And then things just aren't going well, and he's clearly still haunted, and he's still tortured by Chucky, and he goes home and he's got the severed head and everything. And you see that twisted relationship between Andy and Chucky and what it's become. I really love Cult of Chucky. It's so high up on my list, and I will forever praise this movie for just how damn good it really is. It's number 3.
At number 3, we've got Cult of Chucky. Cult of Chucky is just so different. Again, just the amount of times that this series has revamped itself and just reimagined everything and injected a whole bunch to just give the series life for decades to come. And this is the best example of that. Just the fact that this movie is the movie that ties every single storyline that we've ever had besides Jesse and Jade, and I guess besides Glenn and Glenda as well. Just every major character in the series finally shows up here. This is the first movie where you get stuff like Andy Barclay and Tiffany. Just them in the same movie is something to see, and I can also really appreciate that even though they brought back all of these legacy characters, that Nika was still the main focus in the movie. It's just awesome, again, having another movie of her going around, kicking ass. You get her, and then when she's possessed by Chucky, my God, she scores one of the best kills in the series. Dr. Foley being one of the worst characters and most hateable characters in the series. Nika gets possessed. She stands up and just stomps his head in, stomps it over and over. And speaking of the kills in this movie, oh my God, this Child's Play movie is the Child's Play movie with the best kills. Of course, you got that head stomp. You get the bit where the guy gets drilled through the back. He goes from the back of his head out his eyeball. Oh my God, it's sickening. And of course, when the 3 Chuckies finally come to life and they just start killing the janitor, and just all 3 of them just having a blast, joking with each other, stabbing the guy, gutting the guy. It's awesome. And of course, you got the kill with the woman. There's so many good kills in this movie, my God. The kill with the woman, she's sitting on the bed, and then Chucky comes in and throws the gas tank or whatever that was up at the glass, and the glass is just falling down. Just another showcase of how much Don Mancini's directing has improved since Seed of Chucky. This is another very good directed movie, and it's just so much fun. It breathed a whole new light into the series, gave it decades with just all the concepts. Now, the concepts, yes, they were introduced in kind of an awkward way. I came across this spell on voodooForDummies.com, and that's all the explanation that you really get. It's like, really? Like, that's it? But still, just seeing these three Chuckies, seeing Andy Barclay and Tiffany and Nika and everybody come together in one movie, it's awesome. And the post-credit scene when Kyle comes back is just so good. And just, I keep thinking of so many good moments in this movie when anytime Andy's on screen with the severed Chucky head and just them pretty much chilling, and then Andy just taking the torch to his head whenever Chucky starts to get annoying. My God, I love this movie. And Cult of Chucky, it might be a controversial pick to put it up this high because it is so different, but for me, it's going to come in at number 3.
Coming in at number 2 for me is also a movie that James is not so keen on, but me and majority of the fan base agrees. Child's Play 2 is my number 2 because this movie is fucking phenomenal. It is everything that a sequel should be. It is one of the best sequels in horror history. It's up there with Terminator 2. It's up there with Aliens. It's up there with The Strangers Prey at Night, in my opinion. It is one of the greatest sequels ever done in the history of horror. The relationship between Kyle and Andy is just so fascinating, and it's so charming, and it just pulls you in right away. You fast forward all the way into 2022 or 2021, excuse me, where that same actor and actress, Christina Lee and Alex Vincent, are back together in a TV show, and they still have that chemistry, that bond, and that magic on screen together. There was something special there from day one. Chucky was still scary. It was still creepy. It was still terrifying. This is the movie that had my brother standing outside in the pouring rain because he was so afraid to come in the house because it was on. And that's a story I can tell for another time, but I actually won a contest with that very story. So this movie is everything a sequel should be. It was fucking phenomenal. I love it. I rewatch this all the time, a couple times a year. I will put in Child's Play 2 and just simply enjoy it. And that awesome third act, that big finale in the Good Guy Factory. Come on, man. That's top 5 third act endings in all of horror. It has to be. It's so damn cool. I love this franchise. I love Child's Play 2. It's number 2.
Coming in at number 2, this might be another controversial pick because a lot of people actually put this movie lower down on their list. But for me, number 2 is going to be Child's Play 3. Now, after the first two were very, very similar, like they were almost not carbon copies of each other, but they pretty much hit the same storyline beats. Child's Play 3 finally injected something new while not being completely different. It is awesome. Andy Barclay's back, and you get some of the best and most memorable characters that unfortunately some of them haven't came back in the series, although I'm praying for some of these guys to come back. Of course, De Silva being a great love interest for Andy, and really the only love interest that Andy has ever had in the series. She's a great character, and just the look of Chucky in this movie is one of my favorite looks of Chucky in the whole series. He's got some of the best lines and some of the most evil moments as well. When he's switching out the paintball guns with real bullets, that's just such an evil thing to do. I love the opening bit where he's torturing the big boss of the CEO, making all the toys come to life and just killing the guy with the strangulation. And of course, he's probably got, in my opinion, in this movie, he's got his best one-liners in the entire series. He's just got some awesome, amazing one-liners. And it's so much fun, this movie. It really is. It's fun, but not over the top. It's Chucky, he's in a military base, and you get a lot of cool stuff involving that setting. And, of course, the ending stretch. Other than Child's Play 2, this is my favorite ending stretch in the whole series. When they're going through the carnival, and they got that big, huge ride where Chucky, he's chasing them up this pretty much haunted attraction ride thing, and the scythe comes down and swipes his head off, and it's just half of his face is just all bloody and gory, and it's just awesome. such a cool look for Chucky. Although, yeah, I don't know why there was a real scythe blade coming down. That's pretty dangerous, but still, it made for an awesome look of Chucky. The ending where they threw him off into the giant fan blade is still one of the coolest deaths of Chucky, and this movie is just great. I just love the look of Chucky, and I love how different the movie was while also being very similar. It stuck to the same roots, but still tried something different, and I think it is just an awesome movie because of that. And for me, Child's Play 3 is going to come in at number 2.
But my number 1, of course, who didn't see this coming? Child's Play. The original. It is one of the greatest horror movies ever made, bar none. It's terrifying, it's creepy, it's dark, it's a slow burn, it has you questioning what the hell's going on, it's great acting, and it's something that for its time it wasn't seen. Like nowadays you got the Annabelles, and you have the Megans coming out, you have the Child's Play, you have all that stuff, the Chucky's, you have all these killer dolls. In 1988, there was Trilogy of Terror, and there was like Twilight Zone and all that shit. But something like this was so groundbreaking. And the special effects that went into Chucky, that doll looks so damn good in 2022. He looks just as good as he did in 88. So again, this movie is just perfect. I can go on all day about it. You've all seen it. You all know why it's perfect. And you all know that it deserves to be number 1.
But coming in at number 1 is going to be, of course, the original Child's Play from 1988. This is one of the creepiest and most well-built horror movies ever. It's so good and groundbreaking in that you don't see the doll. I mean, obviously there were movies before this where you didn't see the killer until pretty much halfway or even more than halfway through the film, but just this film just does it so well in that you don't even notice that Chucky wasn't alive for the first really 45 minutes, and it really does the suspense and the mystery really well of, is this doll killing people, or is it Andy? I mean, we're pretty sure that it's the doll, but they still do that build up really well. And of course, when he comes out and just starts yelling at Karen, "You stupid bitch, and running and just screaming and swearing, it comes out, it's hilarious but also terrifying at the same exact time. And it's got some of the best kills ever. If Cult of Chucky had the best kills, the original Child's Play has the second. Of course, there's the Eddie Caputo kill where he blows up the entire freaking house. That is an amazing kill right there. John, the voodoo kill, maybe my favorite kill in the entire series, where he takes the voodoo doll of his voodoo trainer and just stabs it, and John's like, ugh, and he just bleeds out right then and there. That's such a creative kill. And just the introduction of these characters, of Chucky, of this horror icon that people are still terrified of this doll to this day. Child's Play is such a classic. It's the movie that inspired my channel. I mean, my channel is called Wanna Play, and in every single intro of mine, the very end of that intro is the line at the end of Child's Play where he says, "Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?" It's that line from that movie that inspired my entire channel name, my entire channel brand. It's just such a good freaking slasher, a great 80s horror movie, the best killer doll movie ever made, and for me, it's gonna come in at number 1.
And of course, we want to both say thank you so very much for watching our collaboration. It's been an absolute pleasure to collab with James again here on Collaboration Mayhem. And if you guys enjoyed this, comment down below what your guys' thoughts are. What are your guys' rankings on the Child's Play franchise? What do you guys agree with? What do you guys disagree with? Let us know down below. You can also follow me on Instagram right there if you're interested. You can follow James as well on Instagram, link in the description down below. But if you guys are looking for a place to hang out, a place to talk with other horror fans, where you can talk, geek out, discuss, vent about this passion that we all share, we got a place for you guys to go. Go on to Facebook and type in, "This is our design, HC." My wife or myself will accept you right away, and you can start talking some bloody good shit. So we want to say thank you all so very much again. You can join the private group if you would like to talk some of that goodness. But if you don't, that's all right too. We just appreciate you guys showing up. So again, comment down below. Let us know what you guys thought of this ranking. And this is my design.